Hello, my name is Charlie Irvine. I'm the Managing Director of Questions of Difference. I would like to take a few minutes to introduce you to a very helpful concept that we've been working with, which is about an assumption that goes, there are multiple realities and we choose what becomes our truth. So that's to say, there's an assumption that we can hold that there are multiple perspectives or realities, and we've actually got a choice about what is the truth. Now, most people can, at reasonable moments, accept that there are multiple realities. That's not too difficult to get our heads around. What I think we find far more difficult to accept is that not only can there be different realities, but that it's a choice as to which of those realities we determine to be the truth. Let me give you an example. Many years ago, I had a girlfriend who was a scientist. Myself, I have a law background and I'm sort of focusing on people, and she was very much the pharmaceutical scientist. And we went to a ballet. Not something I would normally go to, but I think when one first starts going out with people, one can tend to do a lot of things that you don't normally do. So off we went to this modern ballet by this Polish group. And it was extraordinary. Absolutely, I was riveted through the whole performance. And as we came out, she said, "Wasn't that incredible?" I said, "Yes, it was." She said, "Weren't those shapes amazing?" I was, "Shapes? What shapes?" I said, "It was the relationship between the lead actors that was relationship? What relationship?" And as you can see, that's how the conversation continued. We won't get into where that relationship went, but for me, it was another example of how when you can see the same thing and experience the same thing, two people can have very, very different realities. So, we all know that there are multiple realities. We've had that experience in meetings, haven't we? We go into a meeting, we think we're clear on the task that is allocated and who's responsible, normally not us, and we go out into the corridor, only to discover that suddenly we're responsible for all the actions, and that others in the meeting had a very different sense of reality. So, when working in organizations, we need to be very aware of these multiple realities. It's part of the day-to-day life of an organization. Now, let's add another complexity, which is an environment of change. When we're working in an organization where massive change is happening, our tendency to see multiple realities and experience them is even greater. Now let's add an organization trying to change and grow and develop its customer base, and it's even more complex. Because for innovation and new ideas to happen, we need multiple realities to come to the fore. Hopefully, I've made the case for the multiple realities. The harder case to make is what follows, that we choose what becomes our truth. What this assumption is trying to challenge us to do is to see that in any situation, there can be multiple ways of seeing something. And some of those ways can be conflicting, even in our own heads. We will experience something and we will think, that person did it because they're out to get me. And there's another part of us that thinks, maybe it was just a mistake. So when we are seeing that there are different realities, the courage that it takes for us to think about what is the reality that is most helpful in this context for me to hold as a truth. And let me then think about how I act. Let me give you an example. My son is at school, and he and his class started in their second year, just coming out of reception. And they're a feisty bunch, to be fair. And in the first 2 weeks, that little class was really struggling to settle down. And before we knew where we were, there was a meeting of some of the parents. They were concerned about the teachers and how they were approaching this, because all the kids came home saying their golden time had been taken away. There was outrage. How dare they take golden time from 5-year-olds? So letters were exchanged, emails were exchanged, the head teacher was involved. And eventually, 2 very experienced teachers were in floods of tears. Now, we could have held all of those assumptions. And what we decided to do was to hold an assumption that we were very intelligent and that we had chosen the best school for our son. Now, if that's the assumption we were holding, surely it follows that the teachers knew what they were doing and that we could ask the teachers from that perspective. So sure enough, when meeting with the head teacher, We discovered, first of all, we were the only people to even have a conversation about it. And secondly, there were all kinds of things going on in the children's minds, let alone anybody else's, that meant that situation was not the truth that we had chosen to make it. So my challenge to you is to hold the assumption that there are multiple realities and we choose what becomes our truth, particularly in a situation where just you changing your thinking could transform the experiences of those around you. If you have the courage, I dare you to take this assumption on.